Have you ever felt like there's a side of you that you don't fully understand? A part of you that feels darker, maybe even a little dangerous? As an INFJ, you're known for your kindness, your depth, and your intuition. But beneath that calm and empathetic surface, there's another side, one you rarely show the world. Maybe you felt it before. That moment when someone crosses a boundary and deep down, you feel a surge of anger, but you swallow it down to keep the peace. Or when you go out of your way to help others, but later resentment creeps in because no one does the same for you. These hidden emotions, these suppressed thoughts, they don't just disappear. They become part of your shadow self, the side of you that holds immense power, if only you dare to embrace it. Most INFJs spend their lives ignoring their shadow, afraid it will turn them into someone they don't want to be. But what if I told you that your hidden side isn't your enemy, but your greatest strength? Today, we're diving into the world of shadow work, why INFJs struggle with it, how to face it, and most importantly, how to unlock the incredible power hidden within your dark side. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover could change the way you see yourself forever. Let's talk about something a lot of INFJ don't often acknowledge: your shadow. We're not talking about that little voice in your head telling you to procrastinate or avoid responsibility. We're talking about a deeper part of you, the parts of yourself that you hide, ignore, or deny. It's that hidden side of you, full of thoughts, emotions, and traits that don't seem to fit into your ideal self. But here's the truth: if you don't face these parts of yourself, they control you. They show up in your relationships, your mental health, and your sense of self-worth in ways you don't even realize. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter for me as an INFJ? The answer is simple. INFJ are deep thinkers, natural healers, and we're often so focused on others that we forget to check in with ourselves. We push down emotions, ignore our needs, and suppress our darker thoughts because we think we have to be the calm, collected helper all the time. But here's the thing: understanding your shadow is the key to unlocking your true strength. The parts of you that feel uncomfortable or bad, they're actually filled with potential, and by facing them, you gain the power to become the most authentic version of yourself. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. And once you embrace this darker side, you'll see your life and your relationships shift in ways you never thought possible. Understanding the INFJ shadow self. Now that we've talked about what shadow work is, let's dig into what it actually means to have a shadow self. Every one of us has it, but for INFJ, it can feel particularly intense. Your shadow is that part of you, the thoughts, emotions, and traits you've repressed, hidden, or just plain ignored because they don't fit into the ideal version of who you think you should be. For an INFJ, this can be a big deal. You're the type to think deeply, to care deeply. You spend so much time focusing on others, their feelings, and their needs. But what happens when your feelings are too much, too complicated, or just messy? Well, that's where your shadow self comes in. You see, to keep the peace, whether in relationships or with yourself, you tend to bottle up certain emotions. Maybe it's anger because you don't want to come off as harsh. Or maybe it's vulnerability because showing weakness feels unsafe. You push down your desires, your needs, your true feelings, thinking it's easier to just keep things calm, keep things harmonious. But here's the catch: by repressing all this, you're not really protecting yourself. You're just giving away parts of you that are actually really powerful. Your shadow holds a kind of hidden strength. Think about it: the anger you've never expressed. That could be your power to set boundaries and protect yourself. The vulnerability you've been avoiding? That's actually the key to deeper connections and emotional freedom. The truth is, your shadow self isn't your enemy. It's a part of you that's been calling out for attention. And when you stop running from it, you start to unlock hidden strength, energy, and potential you didn't even know was there. So, it's time to face the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. Because deep within that darkness lies the true power that will take you further than you ever thought possible. The repressed thoughts and emotions. As an INFJ, you've probably spent more time than you care to admit pushing down emotions you don't want to face: fear, anger, vulnerability. All the uncomfortable stuff that doesn't fit the calm, collected image you work so hard to maintain. But let's get real for a second. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel these emotions fully? And I mean really feel them, not just shove them away because they might make you look weak or, God forbid, human. For a lot of INFJ, this is where the struggle begins. You might repress fear because you don't want to admit to yourself that you're not always in control or that life doesn't have all the answers. You push away anger because you were taught that being kind and peaceful is the way to go, and maybe, just maybe, you're afraid of the damage that anger could cause if you let it out. Then there's vulnerability. It's the one emotion that feels both freeing and terrifying at the same time. Opening up means showing people your raw, unpolished self, and that can feel incredibly risky. So you hide it, keeping your walls up, never letting anyone see the real you beneath all the layers of empathy and understanding you so willingly give to others. But here's the thing. This internal struggle, it's exhausting. Every time you suppress an emotion, you're holding it inside, hoping it'll just disappear. And sometimes it might feel like it's working. For a while, but eventually it builds up. And when that tension hits a breaking point, it spills out in ways you can't control, maybe through burnout, anxiety, or even misunderstandings in your relationships. You've probably noticed that when you hide your true feelings, it's hard to connect with others on a deeper level. How can anyone really understand you when you don't even fully understand yourself? This repression doesn't just hurt your mental health, it affects how you show up in your relationships. You can only give so much before you feel drained, misunderstood, or even angry that no one truly sees you. So, what's the cost of all this suppression? It's your peace of mind. It's your happiness. It's the connection you crave and the self-acceptance that will set you free. If you're tired of feeling trapped by your own emotions, it's time to face them head-on. Let the anger, fear, and vulnerability out, and see just how powerful it can be to finally feel. The hidden strength in your dark side. Here's the truth: your shadow, the side of you that you've been hiding, repressing, or pretending doesn't exist, actually holds some of your greatest strengths. I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? But think about it for a moment. All those parts of yourself that you've been pushing away, the anger, the fear, the vulnerability, what if they weren't weaknesses? What if they were power in disguise? Take fear, for example. We often think of fear as something that holds us back, keeps us stuck in place. But for an INFJ, fear can be a powerful motivator. It forces you to look deeper, to prepare for the worst, and to understand the full scope of any situation before jumping in. In many ways, fear gives you a unique clarity that others might miss. It's not weakness, it's the courage to confront the unknown with eyes wide open. And then there's anger. For years, you've probably worked hard to suppress it, thinking it's a sign of aggression or negativity. But anger, when channeled correctly, is a force for boundary setting, for standing up for yourself, and for protecting what truly matters to you. That fire inside you? It's what can fuel you to take bold action when you need it most. Ignoring that fire only leaves you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. What about vulnerability? So many INFJ shy away from showing vulnerability, fearing judgment or rejection. But the real magic happens when you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability connects you to others on a deep, authentic level. It creates trust, it builds real relationships, and it opens the door to emotional freedom. When you stop hiding and start sharing your true self, people are drawn to your honesty, and that's where real growth begins. Here's the kicker: when you face these darker traits head-on, you stop being a prisoner to them. Instead of running from anger, fear, and vulnerability, you can use them. You harness their power to shape your future, to turn your challenges into strengths, and to unlock a side of you that's been waiting to rise. Think of it like this: facing your shadow doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. It's like sharpening a blade, taking something dull and turning it into something sharp, precise, and ready for action. You take your fears, your vulnerabilities, and your anger, and you turn them into the very things that propel you forward. You don't need to hide these parts of yourself anymore. Embrace them, understand them, and use them to fuel your personal growth and self-empowerment. Your shadow is not your enemy, it's your secret weapon. Steps to embrace your darker traits for personal growth. So how do you actually start embracing your shadow and turning those hidden parts of yourself into the strength they were always meant to be? It starts with the very first step: acknowledge your shadow without judgment. I know it's easier said than done. But the truth is, the moment you stop pretending that your repressed emotions and traits don't exist, you free yourself. No more denying, no more running from it. It's about saying, I see you, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. You don't have to like everything you find there, but you do need to accept it as a part of you. No shame, no guilt, just pure, honest acknowledgement. Once you've acknowledged your shadow, step 2 is to start journaling. This is where the magic happens. Get real with yourself. Write down your thoughts, your fears, your anger, everything you've been holding in. It's not about making sense of it right away. It's about creating a space where these emotions can come up and be seen. Journaling gives you a safe outlet to explore what's been lurking in the depths, and often, by writing it down, you begin to understand it better. You start to see patterns, to recognize triggers, and most importantly, to feel your feelings without judgment. Which brings us to step 3: practice self-compassion. You've spent years, maybe even your whole life, holding back these emotions, and now you're about to confront them. You will make mistakes, you will feel uncomfortable. But here's the key: be kind to yourself. Break free from the self-criticism that says you're too sensitive, too angry, too vulnerable. Those voices aren't your truth, they're just the echoes of your fear. Embrace your imperfections with the same compassion you so easily offer others. The more you forgive yourself, the more you can truly grow. Finally, step 4: integrate these traits into your daily life and relationships. This is where the real transformation happens. As you begin to understand your shadow, you have to learn how to live with it, not as something separate, but as part of the whole you. It's about being honest with yourself and with others. If you're feeling vulnerable, let people in. If you're angry, express it in a healthy way. When you start integrating your shadow, you'll notice something incredible: your relationships will deepen, your confidence will grow, and you'll begin to feel more whole. Remember, embracing your darker traits isn't about fixing yourself, it's about accepting yourself. All of you. The light, the dark, the beautiful, the messy. When you embrace it, you unlock a power that no one can take away from you. You become unstoppable. Why embracing your shadow is transformative. You might be wondering, what's the real impact of shadow work? Is it really worth facing all these uncomfortable parts of myself? Let me tell you, yes, it absolutely is. When you start embracing your shadow, something incredible happens. You start to feel whole. For so long, you've been hiding parts of yourself, those emotions, thoughts, and traits that didn't fit into the picture-perfect version of who you thought you should be. But when you finally allow yourself to be real, to be all of you, it's like a weight lifts off your shoulders. You stop running from your emotions and start integrating them into your life in a healthy, constructive way. The first real change you'll notice is self-acceptance. For years, you've probably judged yourself for feeling too much, for being too sensitive, for needing to take time to process things. But shadow work teaches you to accept yourself as you are, with all your light and dark. You stop wishing you were different and start loving the person you are, flaws and all. That self-acceptance has a ripple effect. As you begin to truly accept your darker traits, you stop seeking external validation. You stop worrying so much about how others perceive you. That's when your overall well-being shifts. Instead of internal conflict and self-doubt, you find inner peace. You become more grounded, more confident, and more resilient. Life's challenges don't shake you like they used to because you know, deep down, that you have the strength to face whatever comes your way. And the impact on your relationships? It's life-changing. When you embrace your shadow, you stop hiding behind a mask. You become more authentic, and that authenticity builds deeper, more meaningful connections. No more pretending to be perfect or always in control. You show up as yourself, and that's when people really start to see and appreciate you. Vulnerability, which once felt like weakness, becomes a strength. You begin to attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are. Let me give you an example. Take Emma, an INFJ who spent years bottling up her anger because she didn't want to appear mean or confrontational. She always tried to keep the peace, but deep down, she felt resentful and drained. After starting her shadow work journey, she began to acknowledge her anger and understand it wasn't a bad emotion. In fact, it was a protective force, something that could help her set boundaries and stand up for herself. She started using her anger as a tool for self-empowerment, and the result? She became more confident at work, stood up for herself in relationships, and felt a renewed sense of balance in her life. Then there's David, another INFJ, who had always struggled with fear of failure, fear of judgment. He'd often avoid taking risks or putting himself out there because the fear was so overwhelming. But when he began to face his shadow, he realized that fear wasn't just holding him back, it was also keeping him safe and alert. By understanding his fear and working with it, David started to take more calculated risks. He launched his own business, something he'd dreamed about for years, and found a sense of purpose and direction he'd been missing. These real stories show us the truth. Embracing your shadow isn't just about feeling better, it's about stepping into a life that's more aligned with who you truly are. It's about unlocking clarity, balance, and a sense of purpose that no amount of external validation can provide. So if you're still wondering whether it's worth it, remember this: facing your shadow isn't just about healing, it's about transforming your entire life. It's about becoming the fullest, most authentic version of yourself, and that's where true power lies. As we wrap up, remember this: embracing your shadow isn't about turning away from your darker traits. It's about welcoming them as a source of strength. Your fear, anger, and vulnerability, they don't make you weak. In fact, they hold the key to unlocking your true power, helping you grow, heal, and create deeper connections with yourself and others. The journey of shadow work is deeply personal and often challenging, but it's worth every step. When you stop hiding from your true self, you start living authentically, with more clarity, balance, and purpose. The path might feel uncertain at first, but trust me, each step forward brings you closer to the real you. So, if you're ready to begin this transformative journey, take the first step today. Acknowledge your shadow, face it with compassion, and let it guide you to a place of deeper self-acceptance. And if you found value in this video, share it with fellow INFJ who are on their own journey. You never know who might need that extra push to start their own shadow work. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time for more insights. Thanks for watching.